Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another stream with Swaggle Haas. A very, very special early morning Saturday stream. Got my coffee. Gonna hang out here today, catch up on a few topics. Just felt like firing up the camera and getting a stream in because, a bunch of stuff to talk about. Not really enough time to make videos because I've been if you guys have been following the last couple of videos, I've been talking about how I have to do all this shipping. Plus, it's 4th of July weekend, a great weekend, a lot of things to do, people to see, drinks to get, fireworks to shoot. So I hope you guys are having a great weekend. A lot of comic book sales going on this weekend. I don't know if you guys happen to have this at your LCSs, but I've been getting a lot of, the notifications from my local LCSs talking about, 25% off, 4th of July weekend sale. So I'm definitely going to try to hit up maybe a couple shops if I get some time. But I thought about, doing a kind of a special stream this morning just to talk about a few different topics. We'll see if anyone shows up in the chat here, if we got any Q&A. I don't really know. I mean, no real plan. Well, a little bit of a plan, but, just want to cover some of the big topics that have been happening that, again, I just don't feel like doing in a video, or I don't think they can fill up an actual video's worth of time. But before I get into, the chat and the actual show and talk about everything, I did have to give a shout out to the sponsor of our stream here today. Got to check the sponsors, torpedocomics.com. If you guys don't know about torpedocomics.com, I feel personally attacked because it seems like you haven't been watching my videos. I always talk about Torpedo Comics, great comic book store. They have locations in the Southern California area. They're mostly based out of Las Vegas, of course, but they also have this online store, torpedocomics.com. Go check it out when you get a chance. They got all kinds of goodies here, mystery boxes, raw comic books, slabs, trading cards. By the way, side note, I kind of want to talk about the Lord of the Rings trading card, if you guys happen to know this one. I mean, they do sell some Magic the Gathering cards, but they also got a lot of huge comic books. I mean, if you got an extra $140,000 to spend, this morning, today, you can make an impulse buy on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 196, signed and sketched by Kevin Eastman. Pretty cool, if you guys feel like doing that. And the best part about Torpedo Comics is that I got a promo code, which is in the description. Use SwaggleHaas upon your checkout, and you'll be able to save 10% off on your order. So thank you to Torpedo Comics for sponsoring the stream today. Really, really appreciate them. Really, really appreciate that. And also, if you are in the Southern California area, or you're going to find yourself in the Southern California area around July 15th weekend, they're going to be having TorpedoCon 2023. I highly recommend you guys check out the show if you are in the area. They do a great event. Now, last year they had to cancel it because of some conflicts and things like that. So unfortunately they didn't have it, but the year before that and the year before that, they had great shows. Some of the best dealers, some of the best vendors. Jim Lee's going to be there. I think J. Scott Campbell is another guest. Yes, J. Scott Campbell is another guest that's going to be there. So get your autographs here. Frank Cho is going to be there. And I'm sure that they're going to have more guest announcements. Mike Mayhew very, very soon. So July 15th through July 16th, Glendale, California. Highly recommend that you attend TorpedoCon. I myself will definitely be there at the show. So definitely go check them out if you're in the Southern California area. But that is the sponsors of the show. Might be a good time to see if, people are here in the chat hanging out. Feel free to make a comment, ask a question. We can kind of have a little bit of a back and forth interaction here. 35 people hanging out already. So that is really cool to see. But let me get a little sip of the old coffee here. I did want to say that I do have a SwaggleHaas mug that I made, but I haven't drank out of it yet because I only have this one. So it's really more of a prop at this point. When I go on Rambly Rant Town, I might flash the SwaggleHaas mug, but I don't want to get it coffee dirty yet. All right. Doug here in the chat. Good to see you, Doug. 12th cup. No, we are only on cup number 2. It is, 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. roughly speaking, 10 a.m. So we're only on cup number 2 at this point. There's definitely diminishing returns. I don't know how you guys feel at this point, but once I get past 3 cups, if I'm on cup 4, it's probably not going to be a good day. That's kind of where I've determined, like my ability to handle coffee is 3 caps. I mean, 2 is really where I should be, but if I go to 4, it's all bad. Desire Comics, what's going on? Nigel, good to see you, man. Always good to see you in the chat, hanging out. Hopefully we bump into each other at another Comic-Con soon. Are you going to be in San Diego? Actually, let me know. Let's see here. Make room for Doom. 5 a.m. swag notification. Oof, morning swag. Yeah, morning. Wait, 5 a.m. You must be in Hawaii then. Hope you're having a great morning out there on the islands. AOA, 1 ring to rule them all. AOA, what's going on, man? We have 1 ring to rule them all. Maybe you guys don't know, but I feel like it's a very interesting story. Magic the Gathering, the card game. They recently had a Lord of the Rings tie-in set. And in it, they did basically, your Willy Wonka golden ticket situation where they had a 1-of-1 Lord of the Rings ring card. And it was going to be randomly distributed in all of the booster boxes and things like that. And basically, there were a lot of people that were putting bounties on the ring. Like, hey, I will give whoever finds this ring $2 million. That's how high the bounty got up to. So it was total craziness, totally a Willy Wonka golden ticket situation. And, basically yesterday, I believe it was, the ring was actually found, sent into PSA for grading. PSA gave it a 9. I mean, how are you going to do that? I feel like at that point, you might as well give it a 10, even if it isn't really a 10. I mean, it's 1-of-1. Comic Journey, what's going on, man? Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to see you, Comic Journey. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see here. Anyway, I will fly everyone in chat to Cali for the con. Damn it. It wasn't even a super chat. I got duped, and it wasn't even a super chat. AOA got me. But good to see all you guys here. We got Poogs in the chat. Nice to pick up on your Thor Grail. Looks really good. Thanks, man. Yeah. You can see it's got its place on the wall. And a little bit of a sidebar. It's funny. If you guys ever really have paid attention, there's some method to the madness of how I put the books up on the wall. There's it's alphabetized, but where my head is, right? Like I'm always blocking these middle books. And technically my Gym 83 should go before my Gym 85, but I wanted to show it off. In my native position, I want to show it off. So I switch them. So my OCD kind of bothers me that it doesn't go left to right perfectly, but at the same time, we gotta flex the book a little bit. Ramsey says, when's the next silver and bronze index video? Good point. So I have to wait until the month is done per my own rules. So we're still, we are now in July 1st. So July 1st. So I can do the index. I'll probably put it out some point end of next week, because I'll over the weekend, I'm going to hang out with friends and do stuff this weekend, maybe have good times. But maybe on Monday or something, I'll put it all together and then put out the video. Let's say Wednesday, July 5th. Don't quote me on that. Something like that. Should have been sent in for no grade being a 1-of-1. Do they do no grades in cards? Because I feel like the no grade, would have, I feel like the no grade would have been something that they have to do if the card is not actually a really card, but it is a real card. Let's see. As long as I can see Avengers 4, I'm cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Avengers 4 is always going to make the cut. We're always going to have to shift books around. I've even done it too with some other books. I think I put Iron Man comes before Hulk because I wanted the Iron Man to be visible, not the Hulk book. So kind of funny. Good afternoon, Swag, and everyone for camera. Good to see you, Don. Comic Journey. What's going on, Comic Journey? Thank you so much. Congrats on the success of your first comic. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. $10. Yes, it is. It is very cool. It's very, very cool. It's very exciting to have a comic book done. And I'm very, very excited. I've been in shipping mode, trying to get orders out to everybody. And then also at the same time, trying to get my own personal online store set up, which soft launch, guys, soft launch. SwaggleHouseComics.com. It's work in progress. Okay. It's work in progress. It actually does work. Okay. But I'm playing around with it. You know, we got the YouTube, we got the store, got the trailer, we got, you know, a couple other videos here, you know, things like that. Subscribe to the newsletter, You know, we can, got a little about section. I'm teaching myself how to do this. I'm actually doing this myself, which is why it's so busted at this point. But I do have the shop here if anyone out there is interested. And the truth is, it does work. You can go in here. You can say you want to order a book, add it to the cart, says added. I need to add a little button here that instantly pulls you to the checkout, as opposed to have to scroll up and then hit checkout. I mean, it's these little things, guys. I'm working on it. Okay. And then you can go to the checkout and then you can put in your info and you can do the whole thing and you can buy the book and I will actually ship it to you. This is 2023. This is the modern age, and things actually work now. And that is very, very exciting. So I will do an official launch for it and the book and everything like that. But I guess you guys right now in the chat, in theory, if you did go to SwaggleHouseComics.com and you added to cart and checked out and PayPal'd it, I would ship you a copy. Come on, comic books. What's going on, man? Whoa, no personal life, only YouTube. It's so true. It's so true. Sometimes I look at like other YouTubes, like bigger YouTubes that I follow. I don't know if you guys have this similar experience, like even outside of comic books, like just big YouTubes I follow. And I just look at like how many streams they do, videos, shorts. It's like an entire machine. It's like a 7 days a week existence. And I think that that's what it takes. So yeah, no life, you know, for the YouTubes. Swag, are you going to SDCC this year? Yes, Ali, I am definitely going to SDCC. It's going to be a really fun kind of end of July sort of trip thing. I'm going to go to SDCC, and then I'm actually going to fly to St. Louis for another little comic book thing that actually has to do with my comic and my Kickstarter. I'll talk about that later. And then after that, I'm going to go straight to Terrificon. Oh, and hopefully I can see Como when I'm there. But then I'm going to go to Terrificon after that. So a couple of comic book shows, and I'm going to take the book around. And I can't officially say yet, but at San Diego Comic-Con, I think I'll be able to do some promotion for the book, can do some signings and stuff with Shortbox. So stay tuned for that. And I'm also going to be doing a couple panels at San Diego Comic-Con, which is exciting. It's always a kind of an honor to be invited to like do a panel like that. It's weird to think that anyone would want to attend my panel and listen to me speak, but it's always fun and it's always cool to do it. So I'm looking forward to San Diego Comic-Con. Says the guy packing to go to the lake without dropping a new video this week. Yeah, come on, Drew. Feed the machine. No time to pack. No time for lakes. So yeah, that's kind of me getting caught up with the chat. And again, guys, you know, if you got any questions and stuff, you know, we can kind of keep it casual today. But yes, thank you again, Comic Jared, for that chat, because it set me up to talk about my website. And also really quickly, just give a little shout out to Automatic Comics here for making a video talking about the hottest spec book there is in all the comic book market. If you guys don't know about Automatic Comics, go over to his channel, go subscribe, and check out this video he's got right here called Hottest Spec Comic of the Week, Bye with a fire emoji. I mean, if it says bye with a fire emoji and it's a spec book, you know the book's going to go to the moon. But I think you know where I'm going with this. He did this video talking about my book, which he unboxed. You know, he supported on the Kickstarter, and he's giving away a couple copies. So if you guys want to, you know, win some free copies and not go to my website store, you can go over there and try to win a copy. Might be a more financially efficient way to get your hands on the book. All right, let's kind of check in now here and see last couple chats. Ollie here. Yeah, maybe they'll run into you Thursday. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll definitely be in the vintage comic book section for a large majority of it. So it's great. Ma says, got my copy this week. Stellar writing. I look forward to the next one. Hey, Ma, glad to hear that you got your copy safely, and glad to hear that you liked it, man. Like that's always really good. It's funny. I'm more worried about the packaging and getting books to people that I haven't even thought about. Well, I hope they like the actual comic. Like that's the least of my concerns at this point. The most of my concerns is making sure people actually get the book. All right, last little housekeeping thing that I did want to talk about is this one thing that happened in our comic book community recently. Really, really sad news, unfortunately. If you guys happen to know Empire Comics, a great community member within the comic book space, would always hang out in the comic book chats. Like, you guys are hanging out today and a lot of the live streams, had a great YouTube channel. I've talked to him a lot. Super great guy. Unfortunately, there was this post on his community page earlier this week that he passed away. So it was really shocking. My heart goes out to him, his family, his friends, and everything like that. And it's really unfortunate. He was one of the really good dudes of the community. Great guy. I talked to him a lot, and it's always a little shocking to see this because, like, a lot of you guys, a lot of people in our comic community, it's like I've never met in person, but I feel like he was a comic friend, that I had. So it's really sad to see this, and just here to kind of make people aware of what happened in the situation. Send some love to him, and he has a GoFundMe that was started by his family to kind of I think take care of his 2 kids and some of the memorial services and things like that. So if you guys want to support, I put a link in the description for this GoFundMe. And yeah, he again, Empire was one of the good dudes of the community, and it's really, really sad to see this news and to get this news. And it's definitely a reminder, to everybody, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, look out for each other. I don't know what happened. I don't know how he passed away. But again, life is very, very short. It's very, very precious. So make sure that you guys are okay and checking in with each other and your friends and your family. And yeah, you never know. So very, very sad. And if you want to donate to the GoFundMe, please, by all means, check it out in the description. And if there's anything you can do, I'm sure his family would appreciate it. Yeah, Juice. Yeah, rest in peace for sure. Yeah, Mill Skills. Yeah, very sad to see that. And totally agree, Mr. S. Reminder of what's important. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Comics are very, very fun. And I know that I meme a lot here on the channel, and I joke a lot, and I act goofy and lay on the floor and lick the floor and things like that. But, it's all in good fun. And there's a lot more serious things, in life. So very important to always have that balance and remember, and to make sure that you take care of your loved ones. And if you're in a tough spot, make sure you reach out. So those are important things to remember. All right, well, let's get into our show here. I did have in the thumbnail, the superhero fatigue as my framing for our conversation today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. But I guess, kind of where it, goes in alignment with us is, we have to ask the question, like, if superhero fatigue is real, and let's say that like all superhero movies just bomb and crash, and the MCU folds and DC folds and all this stuff, would that affect comic books? Like comic book values? You know what I mean? Like how much do superhero movies need to exist in order for the floor of comic books to actually be stable? Now, I don't actually know the answer to this question. In fact, if you guys have hot takes, I'm willing to listen. But of course, one of the big news recently, last couple weekends, the Flash movie came out. I know mixed reviews. I heard a lot of people actually kind of enjoyed it for like sort of a popcorn superhero film. I actually didn't see it. I know, sacrilege, but I am part of the problem. I'm one of the reasons why this movie bombed at the box office, because it just felt like there wasn't that much interest. And again, I think it's a multitude of problems with this. I mean, you have one, maybe there's a lot of people that don't want to support Ezra Miller. Two, everybody knows at this point that DC is getting rebooted. So it's hard for anyone to actually be invested in these DC films, especially since they know that they're not going to lead it to anything. And at this point, as superhero movie watchers, we've been conditioned and trained to want to see movies because we know that it builds to something larger. And I know a lot of people will talk about like, oh, like we got to go back to like the, just one-off or the, Christopher Nolan trilogy and just keep it self-contained and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's actually going to work. But regardless, this movie completely bombed. And I have to say, I'm a little bit worried for James Gunn being able to actually hit the ground running with his universe. Because not only did this movie bomb, Shazam also bombed. Later on this year, we have Blue Beetle coming out, and we have Aquaman 2 coming out. And I mean, look, things can change, the market can change, but there's no way that those movies are going to do well. Like Blue Beetle is definitely going to bomb. Like he is a new character that doesn't have a following at all. Even if the movie is pretty good, like the best that it can do is the budget of the first Shazam would be my guess, right? And the first Shazam, generally speaking, like audiences liked it. Everyone really, really liked it. But, for the return for the box office, it wasn't that good because he's just not big enough of a name of a superhero to get the casual audience, to buy a ticket. And then you have Aquaman, which sounds like it's a train wreck due to all of the recasting and Amber Heard and having to like get new actor to do the whole thing and this and that. And it feels like that movie's going to bomb. And I got to say, before James Gunn even gets to make Superman Legacy, like what is Warner Brothers financial situation going to be like, coming off of this year, if they have to go into production for Superman next year? Like, I'm sure they're going to put a lot of money into that film, but I feel like Warner Brothers is going to be in a situation much like where Marvel was with the first Iron Man, where pretty much outside of a grand slam for Superman Legacy, or in the case of Marvel, hitting a grand slam with Iron Man #1, I don't know if they're going to have the capital to invest in doing all of the projects that James Gunn had talked about. Swamp Thing and The Authority and Booster Gold and, the Wonder Woman spinoff series and all of these other properties. Like, I doubt that you're going to hear that those properties are being greenlit and going into production until or unless Superman Legacy actually knocks it out of the park. Like, that's kind of where I think it is. I feel like if Superman Legacy doesn't knock it out of the park, I honestly think that they're going to cancel the James Gunn universe. That's what I would guess. That's what I would guess. And, maybe I'm just a cynical old man here and I have no faith. Or it's not that I don't have faith. It's not that I don't have faith. It's just that, like, look, if you don't have money to make the movies, if you're not getting any box office return, like, you can't make a cinematic universe. So Superman Legacy has to knock it out of the park. And if they don't, I don't think we're going to get all of those announcements for all of those shows that we heard about, especially since, like we said, we're seeing Flash doing poorly. Shazam 2 did poorly. Blue Beetle will do poorly. And Aquaman 2 will likely do poorly. I mean, it's just a tough situation. Let me check in here. Budget for Blue Beetle looks like $369.88. I mean, you're not wrong. And all of that money went into the one shot where he pulls out the giant anime sword. I just, it's going to be tough. And I'm not even like rooting against these movies. It's just, it's just clear at this point where everything is going. This movie is going to have such a hard time being financially successful. Even if it's great, it's still going to have a hard time being financially successful. I don't think general audiences even know DC is being rebooted. Don't you think that's just an island of nerdom that is even aware of this and factors in it? Also, hello. Yeah, maybe that's true. I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm not a general audience, but like, if I have the conversation with like the general audience friends of mine, like I'll get like the week that Blue Beetle comes around is basically, it's going to be like, someone's going to tag me in WhatsApp and they're going to go, "Hey, Mickey, what the hell is this Blue Beetle thing?" And I'm going to just say, he's a DC character, blah, blah. And then they're just going to be like, "This thing looks terrible," and they're just going to dismiss it. And then at the same time, we'll get into the Superman casting, which we'll talk about in a second. If they hit me up and they say, "Hey, what's this new Superman casting thing?" They'll just be met with, "We're getting another Superman again." So like, even if even if people don't know the reboot is coming, I feel like once they hear, "Oh, we're getting another Superman," the reaction to the normal person is like, "Again? Didn't we just have Superman?" So I feel like, I don't know. It's not that it's like a negative thing, or like, it's not that it's like it's not that it's a negative thing. It's just that I think people are so allergic to the superhero thing at this point, and it's going to take a while for it to sort of pivot and turn. And I will say, I do think that Deadpool 3 is going to make that turn. I think that like casual audiences, once trailers come out, and if all the rumors are true out there, that they're going to get like Halle Berry Storm back, and they're going to get Ian McKellen Magneto, and they're going to get all these cameos in it, I definitely think people are going to be like, "Oh man, like I want to see Hugh Jackman again." So I think that movie can turn the tide for everything. Super Mighty Mega, agree. Can we all agree superhero fatigue is real? Lol. Well, I'm a little, hey, bringing in the people with the superhero fatigue. I'll say this. There is superhero fatigue in the sense that these bad string of movies make people not want to see some of the movies, but all it takes is a couple of good superhero movies for the thing to turn the other way. Superhero is just like it's almost like a genre, or it's not, I wouldn't even call it a genre. I would say that superhero is like an archetype to where you can create genres within. And superheroes to me is just like mythological, storytelling. Like there's something in all of us that enjoys these sort of hero's journey tales. So I don't think that it's impossible for superhero movies to ever truly die. Like, they might take different form. I mean, The Matrix with Neo is a superhero movie. If you think about it, it's like the hero's journey in the same kind of way. But so it depends on how you want to define fatigue. I will say that, there's got to be a better string of movies that do very, very well. And I would say Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was really great. And audiences did turn out for that in the box office. And so is the Spider-Verse movie. Spider-Verse movie is great. And audiences are turning out for that. So it's kind of like, at the same time you have all the superhero fatigue, you do see that superhero movies still command box offices, although the box offices are pretty bad. The Flash won $217 million, $217 million worldwide, which is pretty bad. I'm assuming that this is going to finish around 300, 400 million tops, which is not good at all, especially since apparently the movie was so expensive. And it's crazy to see that like the worldwide box office right now, like this is the other thing too. Superhero fatigue, this fatigue, not fatigue, this fatigue, just like looking at this chart for the box office of movies in general. I mean, movie box office is just down significantly. Like the top two movies, Mario Brothers, 1.3 billion. That's great. It's a great movie, great box office. And then number two is already Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at 833 million. And 833 million is a great number for any movie to hit, but like, I feel like that's like a disappointing MCU number. Actually, it's not. I'd say if you get to 800 million for a Marvel movie, I think that that's where you want to be. You know, if you can get to 1 billion, then that's great. And then if you get to like 700 and 600, it's like, we're breaking even. And if you go under 600, that's really, really bad. But like, look at these box office numbers. This is not very good compared to other years. Usually in other years, you have like a handful of $1 billion movies. But box office in general is just down. I mean, even Ant-Man, which by all accounts was kind of like viewed as a financial failure. And it was at 476 million. But even at 476 million, it's still the 6th highest grossing movie of the year. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, that's pretty wild. And so, you know, you think about like, okay, what are the other movies that are going to come out this year? Like, I don't think that this box office list is going to change all that much. Like, you have the Marvels coming out, Aquaman, Blue Beetle. I don't think that these movies are going to do that great. You have Mission Impossible, which I do think Mission Impossible could be the one movie that gets to 1 billion. I think people will be excited about that. You have Dune 2, which I'm super excited for Dune 2, but at the same time, like, it's not like, I feel like Dune 2 is more of a heady movie. So I don't even think that Dune would be like $1 billion movie by any account. You have things like Oppenheimer, which I'm super, super excited to watch. But again, it's like kind of more of a Christopher Nolan drama. It's not going to be $1 billion movie. So this is kind of what you're seeing. So box office is definitely down. And I think that has a lot to do with just the economy, all those sort of things. People tuning into YouTube live streams instead of watching Indiana Jones this weekend. You know, actually, I'm curious. Are you guys going to watch Indiana Jones? Do you guys have, are you guys interested in watching Indiana Jones? I'm on the fence with it. I love Indiana Jones. I want to watch it, but I'm also like, I mean, I'm just like, I'm not like, so like, I don't need to go see it. That's where I'm at with it. I don't need to go see it. All right. But Flash box office is down. But if we're talking about comic book sales, showcase number 4, not showing any signs of slowing down, even if audiences are not interested in the Flash movie itself. Comic book audiences are still very interested in showcase number 4, first appearance of Barry Allen Flash. And we had a massive sale at the recent Heritage auction, the premium auction, where I talked about the sales of UF4, the back-to-back CBCS and CGC earlier this week. And we got an 8.0. Look at this copy. Beautiful 8.0 copy. Go on a sale. One of the highest graded copies we've seen go on sale in a long time. And this one hit a massive $132,000, which is pretty impressive because the previous sale for this was April of 2021 at 78,000. So right on the cusp of the comic book boom, I think it's fair to say that inflated prices would be around this level. So I think it's, again, ultimately impressive to say that because this book hit 132,000, I think that that's a really strong sale for this book, because you could have had retracement back to this $78,000 level. But Showcase 4 is like an ultimate grail. You know what I mean? It's like, 573 total copies on the census. So it's going to be hard to have pullbacks for Golden Age books, although a lot of people argue that this is the first Silver Age book. The beginning of the Silver Age, issue marks the Silver Age of comics. So it's sort of debatable. 1956, right on that cusp here. And then we had a couple other sales, the 3.5 here, which the 3.5 sold for 21,000, which is similar to previous sales. So fatigue in movies, not necessarily fatigue in the blue chip grail comic books. And that's kind of, again, one of those questions that I had been thinking about, where it's like, if superhero movies went away, how would the comic book values be affected by that? Now, it would have to affect them a little bit, right? Like there has to be some cultural significance to these characters in order for there to be value for these books. I mean, that's the nature of pop culture items. At one point, everybody loved Mighty Mouse. And then if Mighty Mouse falls out of flavor amongst culture, then no one cares about Mighty Mouse anymore. And Mighty Mouse never even had a movie. He just had his cartoon, So I think that those are things that, we have to think about. But I do think that there's a strong enough portion of comic book collectors, just pure comic book collectors, that are always going to want to buy the comic books anyways, outside of the movie factors. And in fact, in a way, we're kind of already in that spot right now. Like anyone who got in for the hype has already churned in the hobby. Everybody who is like still watching YouTube channels right now, talking about comic books, anyone who's going to LCSs on Wednesday now, like here in July of 2023, I mean, you're already all in at this point. You know what I mean? Like there's no going back anymore for you. If you're in this chat right now, if you're in this stream, we're stuck, guys. We're on the treadmill. We're already so invested in it that nothing's going to pull us away. So I don't know. Let me check in with some of the chats right here. Kind of scroll back up a little bit. Pulsar says, I'm just fed up with DC and Marvel. If the Spawn movie comes out and is good, I'm in. Yeah, that is, the Spawn movie feels like the can that has been constantly kicked down the road, right? Like it's just, when are we actually going to get the Spawn movie? Todd McFarlane, I think recently came out. There was I saw like a little press headline that said that it's heavily in development. And by 2025, we are going to get the Spawn movie. So I don't know. It's pretty exciting. I'll definitely watch the Spawn movie. Like even if it comes out and the trailer is bad, like it's like you said, like it's new, it's fresh. I want to give it a chance, so I'll definitely go see it. And it'll be cool to see if it actually happens. Kevin's like, yeah, Guardians made money, so cannot say superhero fatigue. Yeah, exactly. Guardians made money. So did Spider-Verse. So obviously, there's still some interest in people wanting to watch superhero films. James Gunn always comes under budget when it comes to his movies, so I think the financial and earning hurdles will be less than most of these others. Yeah, that is true. I think he is very a proficient filmmaker, and I can tell. I can't tell. I'm speculating, but even as someone who works in film, has directed a lot of things, I get the sense that James Gunn is the type of director that is like very, very particular. Goes in with a plan. This is what I want. This is the shot. Get this. 3 takes. Got it. Done. On to the next. Right. And he wastes very little time. He wastes very little money, like on sets and costumes and props and things that he never ends up using. I get the sense that he's that type of filmmaker. And I definitely respect that, because there are a lot of filmmakers that I know personally that kind of go on the set and they go, oh, what if we tried this? It's like their little buffet of toys and people and stuff. And it's like, sir, you do realize that everyone here is on the clock, right? Like you do realize we got to shoot something. Can't push this off to the next day. So I think that there's been reports about, like Taika Waititi, right? Like in Thor: Love and Thunder, just shooting, just jokes. Hey, let's do a scene like this, just making it up as he goes along. And that is going to get you over budget. So I agree that James Gunn probably is a very, very good about that. But the question remains, I mean, he's not going to direct every project. So I'm sure Superman Legacy is going to be a great film, but the question is, will those other projects that he announced actually be greenlit? I don't think that they'll be greenlit unless Superman Legacy does well at the box office. That's just my guess. What do I know? What do I know about Warner Brothers balance sheets? DC animation, in my opinion, looked better than the Marvels. DC animation is fire. DC animation has always been great. I actually been catching up on my HBO DC animated stuff. Been working my way through the old Justice League series. I watched the a Green Lantern movie with Jon Stewart in it. It wasn't so good, but still, actually, like the movie wasn't that great. I can't remember what it was. It was Hal Jordan and stuff, and I don't know, can't remember. But it wasn't great, but it was still better than a lot of other superhero movies that we got. Excuse me. I believe they will sell DC properties at this point, maybe to Apple or Amazon. A lot of people have speculated about that. And I mean, they could. They definitely could. You know, Apple could just buy up everything, essentially, at this point. MK, there's also the element of David Zaslav, who is a effing moron that hates movies and could do any damn thing. He's loose cannon. Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes into even what just OA was saying about selling and stuff like that. There's been the speculation, right, that like, oh, Zaslav will just sell DC to whoever. I would believe it, that all these companies are just going to be bought up by Amazon and Apple at some point. Como says that Blue Beetle fan out there is super excited though. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There is some Blue Beetle fan out there that is like the DC version of the Darkhawk fan. I mean, I don't know who that Darkhawk fan would be, but people do say that Blue Beetle is the Darkhawk of the DC universe. And I say to them, how dare you disrespect the Hawk? How the films affect books is a great question. Do movies get new fans interested enough to check out comics and back issues, or are the films just made to entertainment and exist in 80s, 90s fan base? Yeah, it's a good question. Like, my thing is this, is like, even if it's like not a direct one-to-one, right? Where it's like, I go watch The Flash, and then walking out of the theater, I go onto, Heritage Auctions and bid on Showcase 4. Like, even if it's not that, I feel like it's a constant array of touch points to these cultural things that eventually create, somebody wanting to buy that stuff. Like, even all of us here, like, right. It's why do I like Spider-Man? Well, a multitude of things. Like, I had to grow up getting some of the books. I had to play, the Spider-Man video game on Genesis. I had to watch the animated series. I had to enjoy Spider-Man when Tobey Maguire was playing it. I had to watch the MCU. I had to play the latest PlayStation game with Spider-Man and Miles Morales. And all of these things, added to my fandom, to where now, yeah, spending $20,000 on an AF-15 sounds like a great idea to me, So I think that even if it's not just the movies, like, there has to be some elements that go into the cultural thing that makes people want to actually buy the comic book. So if all of the movie stuff went away, there might be other little things, like there's pajama pants and video games and all that stuff that'll still make people like Spider-Man. But every time you peel away one element of it, then, the fandom part of it goes down. Definitely, it was Lies by James Gunn. Tom Cruise, it was the best DC movie ever. The Flash, it wasn't terrible, but not very special. I do want to see it again. Oh, right. Because James Gunn and Tom Cruise had said The Flash was really, really great. I do think that, this is why, like, I think James Gunn, this is my speculation again. I think James Gunn is doing PR for the DC movies because it matters to him for the financial aspects. Like, Warner Brothers can't be like, these movies have to make some kind of return because he needs the capital to do his DC universe. So he's got to be a cheerleader for sure, even though he has maybe nothing to do with it, or even if he's not a fan. I mean, he now works for the company. He represents the company. Like, you should hype up the stuff that your company does, no matter where you work. Like, you should be a positive spokesperson for the company. Movies, in my opinion, never pushed the LCS info. I wish they did, as it's the foundation of fans to excel the genre. Yeah, it's tough. I think the barrier to entry into comics is really, really hard for a lot of people. I will say, though, I do think that it seems like there has been a little bit of a push to that. You know, we saw like in some of the Marvel shows, the Disney Plus series, they were doing a lot of things like, oh, let me put the QR code in. And if you scan the QR code, it actually pulls up She-Hulk #1. So it does feel like there's been little efforts starting to try to connect the movie stuff to like the comics and things like that. And actually, if you guys are video game players, there was that Marvel Midnight Suns video game. Great game, by the way. One of the best games in recent times. But even in then, I could tell that the people who did the game are comic book fans, because in the, you get all the little collectibles and stuff in these types of games when you play these RPGs. And they had all the first appearances of the characters in the comic book form. And they had all this stuff like, oh, this is ASM 101, first appearance of Morbius, the living vampire. And they like have these things. So there is effort to sort of bring awareness to the comic books. And even in Across the Spider-Verse, I thought it was really, really cool that when they did the introductions of like the Spider-Verse characters, they actually flashed the comic book. So there are these efforts to try to bring some awareness to it. But again, awareness only gets you so far. It's another jump to get somebody in the car to drive to the LCS to actually buy a comic book. That's like the next hurdle. And I don't know what the answer is to get people there. Superhero content is definitely saturated no matter how good in quality the movie shows are. I feel like it's all personal preference, hence streaming service over driving to the theaters. Yeah, well, I will say that the streaming has definitely probably been not a net positive for the film industry, because even though it's convenient, I feel like it really, really dilutes the theater experience. It's like in my rants about how doing these eBay Live artist and writer signings is going to kill the Comic-Con. Probably similar thing to like, having streaming where I can just hit play and just watch whatever is going to kill the theater experience. Probably going to hurt the theater experience. And even though there's good things about it, it really does take some of the magic out of it. And it sucks because like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I can't get the same level of immersion at home when I watch something on streaming. Even if I turn off all the lights, I leave my phone in the other room, like I sit right in front of the TV and I watch, still the immersion is not quite there, because I think because I know in the back of my mind, if I have to, I can pause, I can go to the bathroom, I can get a glass of water if I have to, if I want to. Whereas in the theater, you have this social pressure, right? Where it's like, well, I don't want to check my phone because that's rude to the strangers I don't know. I don't want to get up to go to the bathroom because there's people there. Or if I get up to go to the bathroom, I'm going to miss what happens in the movie. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think maybe those social, like going to the theater, helps you feel more immersed. What's going on, Efren? There may be fatigue, but I am grateful we have these movies, TV shows. Just remember, we didn't have this available for us over 10 years ago. Just go see what you want. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it is one of those things. Like, we can be disappointed with a lot of the shows, but at the same time, I think it's amazing that we live in this time where we have a lot of this stuff. So I do get really excited that it's like, hey, we got a Moon Knight TV show. How crazy is that? We actually got a Moon Knight TV show. I thought it was bad, but we got one, I'm hopeful with Moon Knight though. Oscar Isaac, I trust. Let me just kind of check in here more. Think maybe the financial state of the economy may have an effect on seeing movies. Everything is more in means of cost. Yeah, I totally agree, Doug. I think it's like, not like economy is down. Everything's down. A lot of things are down. A lot of pullbacks have happened. Now, you can point to certain things out there in markets, like the S&P 500 has actually been pretty stable. I'm somebody who is a little more Team Bear Bros in that situation. But there is reason for Team Moon Boys. But again, entertainment, movies, all this stuff. It's like, yes, there's superhero fatigue, but also people are just like, yeah, $100 to see Blue Beetle. It's not that they wouldn't enjoy watching it. It's just that, take the family, the kids to go see Blue Beetle. I don't know. In all things, the 20/80 rule, 20% are the mold breakers that stand out and bring the industry out. It's the murky 80% okay to mediocre movies. Yeah, that's true. There's always going to be bad movies, and it's the special ones that really, really stand out, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Spider-Verse. Yes to Indy and Mission Impossible. Everything else at home. Yeah. Indy, I might go see Indy. Maybe like a daytime Indy thing for me. Not a full price ticket. Daytime ticket. Mission Impossible, on the other hand, I'm all over Mission Impossible. Doug says this about Indiana Jones. We'll watch it, but we'll wait for stream. Caretaker's hard to go out. Yeah, get that. And that's a good example of why streaming is good, right? Situation with Doug, like you can't get to the theater. So streaming is a positive thing for that. AOA says Indy 5 was Member Berries and Madness 7.5. 7.5 is a good score. 7.5 is definitely a good score. Quasi says, I'd rather watch Harrison Ford's most recent colonoscopy video than that movie. I mean, man. I mean, does the colonoscopy video have like twists and turns in the plot? Because even if Indy 5 is bad, I'd rather watch Indy 5. I got mixed feelings for Indy 5. Did you get to see it? I thought Indiana Jones already came out. It came out this weekend, this past Friday. Kevin says, they said the first 15 minutes of Indy is great, then the bottom falls out. Yeah, I tried to stay away from like the full reviews because I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to watch it, but I did hear that. I did hear that the opening scene's great, and then it kind of, from different people. Hoping better than Crystal Skulls. That was brutal. Yes. I feel like it shouldn't be too hard for them to make this movie better than Crystal Skulls. Crystal Skulls was, man, it was not good. And I got to say, I don't like how they've aged Indiana Jones into the other ages. Like even with Crystal Skull, like they put him in the 50s, and I think that this movie's in the 60s. I'm like, Indiana Jones, keep him in the 40s and 30s. 40s and 30s is perfect decades for Indiana Jones. Now, how are you going to explain that he looks older? I don't know. Okay. I don't know. That's up to Lucasfilm to decide. But I think that Indiana Jones could have been more of like a James Bond figure where they like recast him, right? Like it could have been like a, more of a pulp hero like James Bond, or who's another famous hero that they end up recasting? My dog wants to go away. She wants to get out of the room. Dev, we're on a live right now. You want to go outside? Come on. Come here. We'll do it live, guys. We'll do it live. Go. Did I scare you? Now this is just awkward. All right. Door's open, guys. She can exit if she wants. There she goes. All right. Let me just check back in. Lost my train of thought here with that. New collectors have to be created by the films. Comic books aren't getting huge readership and creating future collectors. Yeah. The IPs have to be created by all the touch points. And it takes parents to get their kids involved in it, which is another thing. It's I don't know how many moms and dads there are in the chat, but like your kid's not going to get to the comic book store themselves. Like the parents got to take them there so that they get into this like, oh, cool, I can have this little knickknack or thing that I feel is special. So comic book collectors are made. They're not born, I think. Kevin says, when are you going to do another live auction? You mean like a sale? I'm not sure yet. Maybe sometime next month. I'm just knee deep in shipping right now. Sorry, guys, just catching up with the chat. What's your thoughts about the recent UF4 variant sale? Think it was like around a 13K drop from its hype. Well, I did. If you're talking about the Heritage Auction ones, I did do a video talking about the CGC and CVCS difference between the two, and talking about how CGC commands more value. But I will say that this is a book, again, I feel like always runs the risk of being corrected, the Drujevich variant, if this is what we're talking about. Because, as we've been doing our index videos, talking about pullbacks in the market and the values, you gotta pay attention to the 2020 price, where this book was in 2020. Now, I'm not going to say that this book is going to crash all the way down to $8,000. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what it does feel like is, look, there's 180 CGC 9.8s of this book. And how many new buyers of this book say now own it in 2021, right? Like, how many sales have there been since 2021? Well, we can actually count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Essentially 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's say 15 new buyers of this book, of the 180 that exist. And then let's say within this time frame, 20, 30 copies of those have been slabbed to create this 180 pop count. So let's really round it up. Let's say that there's 50 new buyers of this book, 50 new buyers of the Ultimate Fallout 4 Drujevich variant, meaning since this book has been worth $15,000, 50 people have come into possession of it. Now, with that being said, 180 minus 50 is 130. So that means that 130 people have a cost basis into this book at maximum $8,000, but most likely have a cost basis into this book for $3,000 or less. And you can see that this book, having bought this book for $3,000 and it sells for $42,000 now, even its most recent low sale at $27,000, you can 10x your money from $2,000 to $27,000. 130 people have that potential. I mean, it's hard to pass that up. It's going to be hard to pass that up. So that's where, to me, even if we're looking at this book saying, oh, the sky is falling, it went from 42,000 down to 27,000. Even at 27,000, if I'm one of the 130 people that bought this book for $3,000, I'd be selling too. But that's just me. That's just my own personal opinion. I mean, that's not to say that this book isn't going to be an ultimate grail for years and years and years, and that Miles Morales isn't one of the most popular characters ever, or will be one of the most popular characters ever. He very well could be. But it's my suspicion that I do think that this book runs the risk of having corrected values. And I don't think it's out of the question for this book to come down to, based on what we've seen with other index videos and doing that work and looking at the data, and then looking at other pullbacks for other comic books and their values. We've seen basically retracements back to, say, end of 2020 price, beginning of 2021 price, no matter the value range. Even AF-15s that are like 9.0 copies have had that correction back to, say, its early 2021 price. I mean, this book could be a $15,000 book, could trace back to $16,000, $17,000. So even this $27,000 sale could go even lower based on this model. Now, maybe this book was always undervalued, and we're just getting into it, because obviously in 2017 it was a $1,500 book, and then in 2020 it was a $3,000 book. I mean, that is still 2x, so that's pretty good return that it's going up that much. But again, it's not that I'm rooting against this book. It's not that I'm a hater of this book. It's just, I look at the graph, I think about the comps, and I think, yeah, it's very possible that this thing can have more pullbacks. So another drop of 13K wouldn't surprise me. Going from 27,000 down to 15,000, 14,000. Say another drop of 10K. So I don't know. I don't know. And again, that's just me. If I bought this book for $3,000, I probably would sell it right now, with the assumption that if I really wanted to buy it back, I could buy it back for $17,000 later on. That's just what I am guessing. But I could be totally wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think? Exactly. They should hype company products and not attack fans on the web, Pulsar says. Big drop, Luke. It'll take a few years to recover to 42K for the previous sale was insane. Oh, okay. I see you guys are talking to each other. Yeah. I think that, I've talked a lot about, boring stuff about, interest rates and monetary policy and macroeconomy and and all this sort of stuff. And my suspicion is that if we do ever go back to peak 2021 prices, we're going to need to be into 2025 and 2026 to see that happen. That would be my guess, when we can be made whole. MK says, streaming has broken the entire entertainment business. I don't think people on the outside fully appreciate how totally unsustainable it has become. There are big changes coming. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's one of those, like, it's an inevitability, right? Because tech efficiency is an inevitability. It's just how it is. Whether it's good or it's bad, it just is going to happen. It's the same thing. Like, remember when the internet was great, guys? Remember when the internet, you could just log into a website? It was just a website. How cool was that? Now you log into the internet and it's like ad pop-ups everywhere and everything is jammed, and like, because everyone has to like compete with each other, because when you go onto Bleeding Cool, you got to have 15 things playing at it, because they're going to take that data and they're going to sell it to some other thing because they get paid on views and they sell off the data. It's just like the machine. It's all inevitability, and streaming's inevitability. And I don't know if it's ever going to go away, but yeah, it's severely hurt a lot of things. It's the same thing as like music industry, like streaming, Napster, that whole thing, Spotify, like completely changed the music industry. And it was probably for the worse, but nothing was going to stop that tech taking over. So maybe movies are kind of in the same situation right now. A lot to be grateful for. We got a rated R Logan, now Deadpool 3. How significant will Wade be in the MCU? I think that Ryan Reynolds is going to be massively significant. Again, I don't mean to sound like a hater here, but we got to put on our producer hats for a second. And we got to think about box office stars, right? Who's going to get butts in seats for Secret Wars, Avengers Secret Wars in 2026? We need the likes of Robert Downey Jr., Hugh Jackman, who else? Denzel Washington. We need the likes of these famous top level actors and actresses that get the butts in seats. And I would put Ryan Reynolds in there to some degree. I feel like, I'm sure that there's metrics in this. Like when you look at like PR companies have PR metrics where it's like, oh, we've determined that Ryan Reynolds tests well with blah, 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 blah. So I think for that reason alone, he's going to be a big part of the MCU because they're like, we need to get this guy associated with our brand. You know, all due respect to, you know, the girl playing Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. Like, she seems great. She seems like a great, fun personality and stuff, but she's not famous. So it's like, it's going to be hard if you're like, oh, Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel is going to be one of the main team members on Avengers Secret Wars. It's going to be hard for her to pull in the box office. I mean, maybe one day she gets there. Maybe 10 years from now in her career, she becomes the biggest actress in Hollywood. But for right now, I think Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, is going to be a big part of the MCU just because of his celebrity, if for nothing else. Gino's Comic says, I don't believe in superhero movie fatigue, same as comic event fatigue. I watch all kinds of movies. I don't think people realize how many movies are released each year. I also skip some comic events. Yeah. I don't actually believe in superhero fatigue either in as an idea, because let's be honest, guys, we've been talking about superhero fatigue since like X-Men 3, you know, like in the Fox universe. Before we even got to the MCU, they were already talking about superhero fatigue. It really is like, if you make a good movie, people want to watch a good movie, you know? And like I was saying earlier, it's like, there's something about the hero's journey and the myth and like those types of story elements that like people are just attracted to. And superheroes have just become like the latest vehicle for that. And superhero storytelling can be anything. You know, that's the beauty of superhero movies, is they can be dark and gritty mysteries. They can be comedies. They can be this and like that. And there's all different kind of things. So there's always different ways to approach them as long as they're good. And I just think that there's just been a tough stretch of them because of the corporatization of the success. Like, they're victims of their own success at this point. I think that the corporate hands, like, you can just feel like the factoriness going into a lot of these movies. Whereas before, there was a really, really nice time when it felt like you just had creative people working on them, trying to do their best creative version of the film. And that's where we need to get back to, you know, and it feels like James Gunn is one of the few people that still has the cachet to do that in Hollywood. Cody says, I think we have bad movie fatigue and politically motivated media fatigue. I do think that that's a very, very good point too. Bad movie fatigue, totally agree. And the politically motivated stuff is an interesting thing too, because like, you know, we can talk about that, like the whole like wokeness and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I think that sure plays a role, but then there's a lot of times when it's like, I mean, is the movie that woke? No, like nobody, you know, and so this whole cultural, you know, combativeness also creates a fatigue in its own right. And that's going to be something that's going to be hard to ever come back from because of the whole sensationalism built around it. And I'm not even trying to get political on either side of it. I think that there's valid critiques to like the wokeness stuff. And then I think that there's valid counter critiques to, you know, the anti-wokeness stuff. Como says, 10x on 4-figure book is huge. Yes, I see that. I'm way not caught up. Oh, no, I'm almost caught up in the chat here. Wally World, of all places, was making strides when they were releasing the DC Comics 100-page giants. I thought those were a great idea. Then they switched to the comic packs. Those were cool too. Yeah, I don't know too much about that stuff, but I'd have to look and check back in on that, or teach myself more about them, because I know what you're talking about, but I don't know too much about it. There isn't superhero fatigue. The latest offerings just haven't been as good. Disney has access to exciting IP, and their shows tends to be boring. I want action, not an explanation of hero psyche. I want action, not an explanation of hero psyche. Well, okay, I agree with you. that I don't agree that superhero fatigue, but I feel like the character stuff, the character work is important. Can't all be explosions, can't all be super explosions. Maybe that's not what you were saying, but maybe I misread. The reason though, Mickey, why tech efficiency is finally not inevitable is because they finally hit the wall of strong unions that won't roll over on the machine. Well, what I mean to say is, like, movie industry stuff aside, it's like just like efficiency stuff, and I see what you're saying. Like, as people, you got to like stop it. But even like, let's say grocery store checkouts where, you go into those Whole Foods now where like they don't even have people at the cash register. You just swipe your card and you walk in, you just grab everything off the item and they just knows. It's like those types of tech efficiency stuff that like get rid of jobs and get rid of people and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, is this really a good thing to like have that? Like, on the one hand, it's like, well, it makes it easier, is it really so good to have DoorDash where I don't have to leave my house and I can just have food come to my door? It's very, very convenient. It's very, very helpful in a lot of situations. But is it good for society? Probably not. But it seems like no matter what the innovation is, the efficiency aspect always takes over. It's just because it just always wins. It's just efficiency always wins. Because if you can deliver whatever food to your door through DoorDash, it's just people always choose the path of least resistance with their purchases and their habits and all this stuff. And that's what the stuff is. I mean, we might be going to Wall-E. We're going to, speaking of Wall-E World, like, Wall-E, like the movie, I feel like maybe that's where we're going to end up. Man, this got really dark. But I did also want to talk really quickly about, somebody was talking about the boring factor. And I thought that this was kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have been watching Secret Invasion. I got to say, first episode, I wasn't feeling it. It felt very sloppy to me. Like, tone felt strange. Didn't know whose story we were watching. I didn't like a lot of the choices, all the sort of stuff. But then episode 2, I thought got better. Definitely got better. And so I'm interested to see where this series goes from here. I don't know if you guys have been watching Secret Invasion, but I think the interesting story about this, again, as it relates to the sort of the superhero fatigue aspect, is Secret Invasion viewership outdoes Ms. Marvel. But if we get into it, you guys may know that Ms. Marvel was the lowest viewed of the Disney Plus series. So while Secret Invasion outdoes Ms. Marvel, Secret Invasion is the second lowest viewed Disney Plus series that we got. And again, I think that this plays a little bit of that role into the fatigue, element that we've been here kind of discussing. I think that this show, it's not bad. It's definitely not the worst show right now. Like, I'm very, very intrigued to see where it goes. It's very, excuse me. It's refreshing to not have, like, to have a Disney property that's not like full of jokes and comic relief and all that stuff, and have like kind of has a serious tone. So that's cool. So that's definitely an exciting part about the show. I think I just have little nitpicks about like the tone, the directing felt like a little bit flimsy at times, but I thought that episode 2 was a lot better than the first episode. The first episode felt weird to me, but episode 2 feels pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know. This could be a good thing overall. Olivia Colman is fire though. Like, when Olivia Colman was announced that she was going to be in the show, I was like, dude, that's awesome. Because everything Olivia Colman is in is amazing. And she stands out as being fantastic in the show. Like, I don't know. She just outshines everybody that she's in scenes with, in my opinion. Just everything about her cadence, the way she delivers, like just every little nuance is so good. She is so good. Like talk about somebody like I'd put Olivia Colman if I was going to do, I don't know where a character is going to go, but if I was going to do Secret Wars, I want Olivia Colman involved in all of the Marvel stuff. She brings the acting level up tremendously because she is so good. She is so good. So I'm excited to see where she goes with this show. So just wanted to hit about that. Thought that would be interesting. Let's get your guys' takes on Secret Invasion. I'm hoping that this is a show that gets better as it goes along, where it seems like a lot of the shows have gotten a little worse as they've gone along. Usually they start strong and then they end kind of meh. So far, it's trending upward, at least in my opinion. All right, let's get into this right here. Casting for Superman Legacy. Of course, we got David Corenswet was announced to be the new Superman in James Gunn's universe. He's going to be Superman in Superman Legacy. We also got the Lois Lane casting, the girl from Ms. Maisel. Now, this casting is interesting to me. I got to say, I don't know if you guys are familiar with David Corenswet, but I watched Hollywood, which is was a show, I think it was on Netflix. It's a show by Ryan Murphy. I'm a huge Ryan Murphy fan. I love everything Ryan Murphy does. He did like American Horror Story, and he did Glee, and he did The Politician, and he did a bunch of other great shows. And he did this one called Hollywood, and David Corenswet was in it. And I got to say, I think that I can see where they're going with this casting. In my opinion, he definitely has the Boy Scout vibes in Hollywood. I thought he did a great job. So he has this he has that hopeful Boy Scout innocence to him. But I will say he's missing a little bit of grit, but he's young. He's young. So, you're not going to have that grit when you are younger. So I think that this is a good choice visually. I will say, I'm not going to say that he was the most amazing actor in the show, like just pure skill wise. I think he gets outshined a little bit, but there's an essence to him that I think is good. And I know I see it already here in the chat. I see it already, Google search young Henry Cavill, exact same person. Yeah. I mean, I see, I know everyone is memeing on the fact that he's like Henry Cavill light and all this sort of thing, but genuinely, I mean, I don't know. I really like that show Hollywood, and I thought he did a good job. I think he's a good actor. I do think he's a good actor, and it makes a lot of sense, the essence that he has. So I think it could be a good choice, and it just makes sense why they went with him versus Henry Cavill. If the plan is to do this the right way and go 10, 20 years building a DC universe. I think we all would have loved to see Henry Cavill play Superman again. I'm a huge Henry Cavill fan, but Henry Cavill's already 40 years old. Like, if they're going to build to some kind of, epic DC universe, like Avengers Endgame level crossover event 10 years from now, Henry Cavill will be 50. This guy's 29. So he just age wise, I think it made more sense for James Gunn's plan to have to cast. And they just had to do it. They had to do it because there's so much baggage with everything that happened with the DCEU, everything that happened with the Snyderverse and the Justice League and all that stuff, that it almost feels like it's like a franchise, your favorite sports franchise, that at a certain point, it's not that your quarterback is a bad quarterback. It's not that you don't like your quarterback. It's that at a certain point, you just got to move on. I'm a San Francisco 49er fan. And at a certain point, Jimmy G just had to go. I love Jimmy G. He's great for the organization. You know, he's the face of the team. He's not the best quarterback ever, but at a certain point, you just got to move on. Got to move on. And that's what happens. But I really do like Henry Cavill. And if I was Kevin Feige, I would have immediately cast Henry Cavill as something in the MCU. I'd be all over getting Henry Cavill in the MCU. 100%. 100%. Let me see right here. Definitely the first episode of Secret Invasion. I had to watch it twice. It was very boring. Took me a while to get into. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this. I thought it was very, very boring as well. And not boring like there's no explosions, man. The show sucks. Not that. It's just like I felt like the craft was unclear. Like it was very, very unclear. Like, okay, whose point of view is this? Whose show is this? Why am I here? Why am I watching this scene? Why do I care? What are the intentions of the characters? Okay, now we're having a scene doing this. Why are we here? So it's just very unclear what was trying to be accomplished, what the tone was, what the stakes were, what the goals were. But I had to we just forced our way through it. And then episode 2, it was like, okay, it's becoming a little more clear with what the intention behind the series is here, what is happening, what the motivations are. Still a little bit shaky if I'm being super critiquing here or being tough on it. But if I'm to evaluate Secret Invasion compared to Breaking Bad, and that's how we're comparing shows here, like Secret Invasion is nowhere even close to what we would consider a great show. But I want it to be great. I don't understand Hollywood's desire to deconstruct heroes and franchises, Luke, Indy, Fury, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I agree with you on this. I don't know the answer to this, why this is the case. But I will say in my, and again, I'm not in the mix at Lucasfilm or whatever, but in my experience in working in entertainment, I will say that in the corporate structure of things, as people are like really in the weeds with this, there is this like allergy to throwing the fastball down the middle. Like there's some like, I don't know if it's like a in your own head about it as a creative, or you're just sort of like overthinking a lot of this stuff, but it does feel like, I've had that experience, right? Where you're sitting with some executive and you're talking about something, and the executive is like, we really feel like we don't want to just do what is expected, or we don't want to like, this has already been done. Oh, like doing this is the hero, and then they do the thing, and then they get the thing, and then they win the day. That's already been done. We want to do something different. We want to do something new. And it's like, it's that type of thing, which again, I don't think it's as specific as like, let's subvert the character. Like, I don't think that that's the thing, but like there's this constant push to do something kind of new, or try something different, because we've already gotten all those stories. And I think that sometimes people get in their own head about a lot of this stuff, when in reality, it's like, just fastball down the middle. People's going to like that. People are going to like that. So I think that that's what happens a lot in those situations. Noah Bound, what's going on, man? I'm liking Secret Invasion. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm hopeful to see where it goes. Austin, it's a great show. Love it. Yeah, it's good to see that people are into it for sure. All right, let me catch back up here. Hey Swag, have you ever looked into that rare German retailer variant of All-Star Superman? No, I don't know too much about that specific one. I know the foreign comics are, interesting, popular things. People are really, there's a whole like niche of collectors that are very into the foreign comics. I've looked at them a little bit, but I don't know. I'm not an expert by any means. And I don't know specifically the one you're talking about. Cavill would be great as Hercules. Dude, that's good casting. I would love to see Cavill as Hercules. That'd be awesome. I mean, the guy who is cast as Hercules, his name I can't remember. Everyone says that he's great in the Ted Lasso show. I haven't seen that. So maybe he'll be good. But I mean, I feel like he's got to bulk up a little bit, that guy. You know, I need my Hercules to be on the roids. I'll just leave it at that. That's what I want. I think Cavill is all in on Warhammer 40K. That could be a great movie franchise if done right. Comic collectors are just starting to concentrate on those books. Yeah. Three Rivers, dude. Warhammer 40K is a dope universe. And so it is really cool to think about, like, all right, if he can bring this to life, that'll be really cool to see. I do wonder though, like Warhammer is super dark, like dark, you know, like, is it going to be one of those things where, like, will general audiences actually be able to watch this? And, like, can they command like billion-dollar box offices? Like, you can't take kids to that stuff. And I get the sense that Henry Cavill is going to want to do Warhammer justice, and they're going to go dark with it. It's going to be super dark, nihilistic. You know, it'll be interesting to see. I feel like whatever the box office of Dune ends up becoming, not that Dune and Warhammer are similar, but I think of Dune as like this kind of like dark, very serious, high budget thing. And it'll be interesting to see what Dune does, because I got to think that that's maybe where Warhammer is going to sit. I see it as a Netflix type series more than a movie theater. Yeah. I mean, it gets dark in the way like Game of Thrones gets dark and stuff. So I kind of am with you on that, where I feel like Warhammer's you almost wonder if it's like, oh, it should be a series. Also too, like Warhammer, there's so many races and like intricate storylines. Like, you may need the TV show format to unpack a lot of that lore, but I don't know. I'm excited either way. I'm super excited to see what it is. I feel like Warhammer is a franchise that just has like never been able to penetrate, you know, into the pop cultural space, and it needs something like this to break out, because it always feels like it has the potential to be this massive franchise that's super, super popular, but it's lagging behind some of the other IPs because it hasn't had that one thing that's going to take it to the next level. The young Superman actor that is hired looks more like the actor who was on Smallville. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the baby face. And you'll see he's got like, I mean, in the Hollywood show, he has that innocence. That is like an innocence that is pure, that is, you know, idealistic, starry-eyed, which I think that's probably what, you know, I think that could be a good approach for Superman. Just someone who is like so pure of heart, you know, and maybe that's what James Gunn is going for. And he definitely has that essence. It just picked up general audience's first appearance in 9-0. Nice. Hey, Swag, here is a tough choice. Ant-Man, Quantumania, or Thor, Love and Thunder, LOL. Ant-Man, Quantumania, or Thor, Love and Thunder. God, man. That's tough. They're both not very great, in my opinion. I would say, all right, so Chris Hemsworth is definitely just more charismatic. I'm more interested in watching him on screen as his Thor persona versus Scott Lang's persona. So point to Thor, Love and Thunder. But Ant-Man, Quantumania, to me, was just bad. Was like a bad superhero movie, but just like a bad superhero movie. Like, there's nothing like inherently wrong about it. It's just not great. I think I would give both of them kind of a similar score. 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10. They're mid-grade things. But I don't know. If I had to rewatch one of them, I probably would rewatch Quantumania, because Kang feels important. So I probably would want to rewatch Kang stuff. I don't know. It's a tough choice, man. It's a tough choice. Super tough. Henry should play Hercules. Is perfect for him. Yeah, it seems like you're not alone in that feeling. He definitely could play Hercules. That would be pretty cool. And it feels like, you get a guy like that playing Hercules, and then Hercules, you could feel like he could be elevated to like that next tier of hero in the way that Thor was. I mean, Thor has always been more popular than Hercules, but you get the right person and they can get that boost where all of a sudden Hercules, who is a C-list character, could get that B-list elevation. Fastball down the middle. Case in point, Mission Impossible franchise. Mukwiri just does the thing that movies do well repeatedly. It's not complicated. Evan studio executives justifying their jobs. Yeah, I agree. I think fastball down the middle. It's like heist movie, high stakes, Mission Impossible, and everyone's going to just like it. That's it. That's it. I'm sure, MK, you've had experiences where it's like you got the gift horse in the mouth. It's just do the bit. Just do the bit, When will your book be available for general public that missed out on the pre-orders? Well, Ryu OFMU of M. Technically, it is available. Soft launch on my website, but I don't really want to promote it yet. Let's say that it will be available, I'll say, in the next week or two. I will have things that are putting it out there to the thing. But then in the next week or so, I will stay tuned on this channel. I will definitely be promoting it. Warhammer 40K cosplay is amazing. I love to always photograph them at cons. I appreciate the hard work of building those costumes. Yeah, the Warhammer 40K. You know what it is too. So I've never played Warhammer, like the tabletop version. I've always like wanted to, but like it takes a lot to like get into that stuff. But in that, it is a great pride in having painted minis and like making it look amazing. And I feel like that cosplay attention to detail probably factors into, the people that are into the Warhammer cosplays, because the paint job, it's all about the paint job. They got to make those things look great. So yeah, it is always cool to see those guys walking around. Circumstance says Quantum Mania is light years better than Love and Thunder. Light years better. It is. I think it's a better Marvel movie. I agree with that. It is a better Marvel movie than Love and Thunder. What am I trying to find with Love and Thunder? I think it's just, for all Love and Thunder's faults, I think it's just like, I still enjoy watching Chris Hemsworth as Thor. And maybe that's why, I didn't like the movie, but maybe that's why I'm like, okay. It's same like Iron Man 3. Like Iron Man 3 was like not very good, but just watching Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man is enjoyable to me, if that makes sense. But I do agree that Quantum Mania, I wouldn't say light years, but I would say that it is a better Marvel movie. 5.5 seems right for both movies. Yeah. Well, Paulo, I've wanted to do a MCU tier list movie thing on the channel, which again, it's not really like comic related, but I've wanted to do it. I was tempted even here. Like I pulled up the MCU tier list ranker thing through Guardians 3. And I thought about doing it because I feel like my thing is this, and I don't know if you guys agree. I try to rate movies and shows based on what I think they're trying to accomplish and how successful at that thing they were. And that's what I rank. It's not just like my own subjective opinion. For instance, a movie that ranks extremely high on my tier list is the first Ant-Man movie, which again, I think a lot of people, it's a good movie. I think people enjoy it, but it ranks pretty high for me because I think the first Ant-Man movie does what it is trying to do at a level that is really high in comparison to a lot of other movies that a lot of people might rank higher, but I think Ant-Man does better because it introduces this character in a very, very effective way where the tone and the story go back in service to the character. It's very, very clear. And I think that movie does a good job. And that's how I try to rate the MCU movies. But I thought about that. Cavill doesn't have the funny charisma to play Hercules. Yeah, I guess he's never really been funny. Is it like Hercules just has to have that like gregarious, put you in a headlock and throw his pint of beer across the room and laugh as it splashes on the wall. Could Henry Cavill do that? I don't know. Top Gun Maverick, exact same concept, slam dunk. Yeah. You know the problem with what we're talking about here with the doing something different, and this is why things will never change. And I get this, because I feel the same, or not feel the same. But I think the problem, it's like the prestige. Like you have to remember, like Hollywood, it's like art, right? This is film. This is cinema, So when you're all around your fancy Hollywood parties and you're all around your peers and stuff, and you make art that is an Academy Award nominee, everyone is like, ooh, Mika, you made that art thing. Wow, you are a genius. Even though your movie only made $1 million at the box office, you, sir, are a genius because it was art. And then if you're Christopher McQuarrie, like MK was saying, and you're in that room and you made Top Gun amongst your peers in these hoity-toity Hollywood parties, yes, your movie saved the movie industry. And yes, your movie made $1 billion. But it's like, oh, yeah, it was very, very fun. It was fun. I enjoyed eating popcorn while I watched your movie. It was fun, Mika. Are you going to make Top Gun 2? And that right there is the problem. Because the fastball down the middle and making $1 billion ingratiates you to the fans and the people like it. But when you're in the Hollywood party, artsy fartsy, hangout, it's the art, the cinema thing that gets you that respect. And everybody wants the respect from the peers. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Richard, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. I watched Quantumania on LSD that last week, and it was amazing. I mean, I could see how that would make that movie a lot better. It would definitely make that movie. All of a sudden, the quantum realm, you're like, yeah, the quantum realm's awesome. Thor: Love and Thunder was such a wasted opportunity. Yeah, it really was. It was really such a wasted opportunity. Like on every front. Gore the God Butcher, Zeus, Jane Foster Thor, Chris Hemsworth Thor, Valkyrie, everything. So disappointing. So disappointing. All right. Let's go on to the part of the show and talk about the thing that we've all been dying to talk about that didn't feel video worthy. I mean, well, it is video worthy, but I just didn't make a video because I don't know what else to say other than, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for the greatest comic series ever to hit the stands in Spider-Boy #1? Yes, the legendary character himself, Spider-Boy, is getting his own solo series, ongoing series. And as much as I'm being facetious and joking and kind of memeing, I got to say that it's actually pretty cool. Like, this character has blown up so much. People actually care about this new character, and he's getting his own solo series. I mean, it's amazing. Here in 2023, we might actually have a breakout character. Imagine that. Like, that's so crazy. That's actually really cool. That not a movie, not an animation, not a toy, not a this, not a that, a new character in the comics actually got popular and people want to read about them. Now, granted, it is just another Spider-Verse character. It would be cooler if it was like, oh, it's a character not Spider-Verse related that actually was invented in Marvel and actually became big enough to have their own solo series. That would be impressive. A genuine new character. But we can't, we still got to be excited about this because it is a new character. And I got to say, Spider-Boy, I mean, he wears sneakers. This is what it's like is so funny. Is like the character wears sneakers. I mean, if he wears sneakers, he's going to be popular. He wears sneakers, guys. And the kids like characters that wear sneakers. This is a little hot tip. But if you're out there creating a new character, I feel like if you give them sneakers, they're going to be popular. They're going to be popular. What do you guys think about this? Spider-Boy #1 coming out. I know I'm just being playful and facetious, but I genuinely do think that it is cool that they're going to try to do an ongoing with this character. So I think it's actually like, it's a good thing for comics to have a comic character become popular just in the comics, and for actually comic book readers and collectors to be excited about a comic book. Like, this is the way that it should work, and it's cool to actually see it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how far Spider-Boy goes. I mean, I feel like at this point he's already infamous. In a way, he's already a legend. But it also like it feels like Tosin, like Tosin was almost able to do this, but like he never really broke out. Like, we didn't get a Tosin ongoing series or solo series. And I think we would have if Marvel was seeing it in the sales. But there's nothing like Spider-Boy right now. Spider-Boy is the hottest comic book property out there. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. I can see you guys in the chat. Everyone is excited. I can't wait for Goblin Boy. Well, Goblin Boy, if you put sneakers on him, I think he'll sell. What the F is that? Worst costume ever. Worst costume ever? Is it? I mean, can't you just, here's the truth. If I was a kid, I too would like Spider-Boy. If I was a kid, oh man, dude, look how cool he looks. Look how cool he looks. Lee Rack, woohoo, can't wait. Hey, Carl, what's going on, man? I owe you a call. Speculation, baby. Speculation begin. Hey, they said every book Spider-Boy was in sold out. So was it hate reading or... I don't think it was hate reading at all. I actually think that people got on the train, wanted to know about Spider-Boy. I think people are genuinely interested in the character. I mean, I think there's like a lot of people, myself included. I got it because I wanted to check it out. But I mean, we all kind of know. It's like, oh, here we go again with this character. But there's something about it right now that even the meminess of him makes him kind of exciting. He's got that Darkhawk 1. He's got that Darkhawk thing, where it's like you kind of want to be in the club because he's a meme. Hope so, but Marvel and DC have too many series, angles, and spin-offs going on at the same time. Almost need 3 jobs for each FLC. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know how their number sales work. You would think that from a clarity standpoint, it would just be better to strip everything down, have one Spider-Man series, have one Captain America series, have one Batman series, one Superman, et cetera, just for the cleanliness of it. But it, you know, probably the way that they're doing it is the way that they've determined that it makes them the most money. You know, new #1 spin-off series, this, that, 10 Batman runs, 10 Spider-Man runs. So it's probably one of those things where it's like, you know, from a consumer standpoint, it probably would be better if they kept it simple, but I'm guessing that their sales figures show otherwise, which again is unfortunate. Costume is awesome. Nike needs to make those sneakers. I feel like Nike will make Spider-Boy sneakers. I mean, depending on where this character goes. I'm working on my Spider infant pitch. I mean, hey, you know, it's probably not a bad idea. It's probably not a bad idea. Why Spider-Boy? I don't get it, but Amazing Spider-Man is so bad. Why they don't do that book better being the big title at Marvel? I do think a lot of people have been complaining about Amazing Spider-Man. I think they got to, it felt like, you know, are they still kind of reeling from the fact that didn't Nick Spencer leave the run and they like had to fill it? And I think that probably put them in a weird situation where they're just sort of trying to keep everything afloat right now. So I think that one is tough. Wrecking Crew. Hey, Swaggle Haas. I thought you would get a laugh from this. I bought 8 Darkhawk #1s for my LCS in the early 90s. I finally sent one to CGC and got a 9/8. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the best. Off the rack, purchased Darkhawk #1 for whatever it was, $1.25. And now that you have a CGC 9/8, I mean, that's $1 million liquid easy. Can't wait for X-Boys. Now, it feels like Wolverine Boy, you know? I feel like Wolverine Boy could work. Because like little kids, you know, just little kids running around with little claws, wearing sneakers. I feel like, you know, Wolverine could definitely do it. The variant covers for Spider-Boy is going to be insane. We're going to get a lot of them. We're going to get a lot of them. Horvath, as a huge sneaker fan, I'm excited. I'm telling you, it's the sneakerheads. It's the sneakerheads that you're appealing to with Spider-Boy. The sneakers does it every time, single time. I mean, it may not be a bad idea to figure out how you're going to get the Pokemon collectors involved in Marvel comic books. That might be the new design. That would be the breakout design. If you can get the Pokemon people on board. I'll trade Spider-Boy 1 for the Ultimate Fallout 4 variant, book in hand. I mean, Doug, you might be leveraging your future. Okay. Spider-Boy is going to the moon. I don't understand why it's a thing for young Spider characters to wear sneakers, so they're only sticking to walls via fingertips. I know I'm overthinking it. It's just tough. You're not wrong, Mark. That's a good question. I wasn't even thinking about it either. I'm memeing on the fact that like sneakers is like, at this point, sneakers is the new skateboard to me. Whereas like there was a time when it was like you give a character a skateboard and kids think that they're cool. And then skateboards have become like the hello fellow kids meme. Sneakers are like the new skateboard where it's like, they're not totally ironic yet. You can actually give characters sneakers and they're cool. But at a certain point, they're going to be a meme. And yeah, it is a good question. How is he sticking to the wall with his sneakers? It's a very, very good question. People were told and now mad missing out. Lol. Kid Venom will be insane. Dude, Kid Venom would also sell. Kid Venom would also sell. 100%. How about Nightcrawler or Spider-Man? You know, Nightcrawler has a design that feels kid like favorable. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like Nightcrawler could definitely have like a kid appeal from his aesthetics. I think if I was bit by a radioactive spider when I was 11, I probably would create my costume like that. So I shouldn't criticize. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like this is a total kid costume paradise. You know what I mean? Yeah, comics getting expensive. $4.99 to $5.99. Have to mortgage or refi the house. I seriously, Doug. Seriously. Who would charge $5.99 for a comic book? Who would do that? Maybe not Spider Infant, but Spider Babies. Well, in Spider-Verse, they did kind of have the spider. You could tell. All right. One critique with the Spider-Verse movie. Let's talk about this for a second. The fact that Peter Parker was bringing his kid into like dangerous situations made absolutely zero sense. What is this guy thinking? Bring a kid into a dangerous situation. But on the flip side, you just know that Sony's like, we got to make this Spider Baby a thing because I think we can sell so many Spider Baby toys. So many Spider Baby toys. As much as Wolverine has gotten around, I'm surprised there isn't a Wolverine boy. Dakin was a good try, but seems to have fizzled out. Yeah, I think Dakin wasn't like that. I'm just going to use this to describe it. It's like Dakin doesn't hit the sneaker test. Like his character design is not kid centric enough. You have to make him kid centric. But I feel like a Wolverine boy would work. Could definitely work. Is Slott the writer for Spider-Boy? Yeah, I do believe that Dan Slott is actually writing this series. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be Dan Slott and Mark Bagley, actually. And Mark Bagley is great for this as well, because I think Mark Bagley's art is like the most like pure comic art form. And it's like, I wouldn't call it like, and this is not a knock, I wouldn't call it like especially unique or especially stylistic. And I think that that's actually a good thing, that if you're going to get young kids to like flip through this book and read this book and enjoy it, you need that like classic comic art style. So I think he's a great choice for that. Metal says, when's your next index state of the market video? Love those. Yeah, we are in July 1st. I mentioned actually earlier in the stream. I will probably do it maybe on Monday. No, I should say I'm going to do the work on like Sunday or Monday, but I'll probably put it out some point later in the week for sure. We got to do an update. They should put Spider-Boy tattoos in issue 1 like they did back in the Hobgoblin first appearance. They should definitely do a lot of whatever the gimmicks, pull out all of the gimmicks for the kids in this one. Definitely pull out all the gimmicks. I would if I was them. They have X-23 Wolverine girl. Yeah, they do have X-23, but clear, like she's aged up a little bit, a little older than Spider-Boy. I think if they aged her down a tad, she could also appeal to like the youthful audience. I really wish Marvel would compensate creators better. Maybe we wouldn't get all these derivative characters. Yeah, that is definitely a big problem. But I think that's, solutions in comic creator well-being and finances and all that stuff, I think are coming. I think there are companies out there that are trying to do that, and it'll be good for the industry, because you're right. I think there's no incentive to create brand new characters because it's going to be too hard to sell. Fluxpotamus. Okay, so dumb question here. If all major characters are derivative of earlier characters in each decade from the 60s and 90s were established, were able to establish new titles and characters, what's the problem now? This is like a whole other topic of conversation that I actually think is really interesting and is above me to figure this out. but I imagine that this could be like a great film studies class or discussion. But I think one of the things we have to remember is like film and pop culture as we understand it isn't that old. Like with film, we're still really only like 100 years into it as a creative art form versus like writing and poetry and painting that has existed for hundreds of years, right? Thousands of years. If, you know, we're talking about painting, like in caves and stuff. And I think that this like cycle that we're in where it's like, you know, hey, now here in 2023, we're getting a new Indiana Jones movie and it feels like recycled and we're appealing to nostalgia and we're kind of in this era. Like, I do wonder if this is like the outcome of like the pop culture kind of bubble and window that we're in, where it's like, this is sort of the inevitability of where the art form was going to go, especially with like the technology that we have where every movie that ever existed can be watched. So even kids today can watch, say, you know, the original Star Wars trilogy. And you got to wonder, like, is this just, can you not make new IP because you can't cut through the existing cultural noise that already exists? I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now with it, but it is an interesting thing. Something I thought about where it's like with pop culture, like maybe this is just the inevitability of pop culture where it's like, you can't, everything is grandfathered in. Like you can't not talk about Spider-Man anymore because he occupies like too much market share and attention. And there's just no room for it. Swag, I enjoy your comic auction review videos. From what you've seen, which is the more important, comic popularity or comic scarcity? Thanks. I mean, hard to say, right? It's like supply and demand, you know, economics 101, supply demand. I think in comics, it's like, I think scarcity is a better downside risk protector, whereas demand is better liquidity creator, if that makes sense, right? If you have an ASM 300 and you list it on eBay at fair market value, someone's going to buy it today. You know, you will instantly get the asking price for it. If you have a golden age Detective Comics, you're never going to lose money on that because there's just no one can underbid you. But if you list it on eBay, you might have to wait 2-3 months for it to have the buyer come along to buy it. So when you're talking about what's more important, you know, it depends on what's more important to you. If you are wanting to protect the value of your comic, then scarcity is better. I think scarcity is better because if you have the ability to wait 10 years for someone to buy your asking price, then scarcity is the only thing that can do that because otherwise you're going to get underbid. But if you need the money now, popularity is the one to deal with. But you can also get underbid. So sort of hard to say. Inevitable Ant, paging Thanos to snap away half of pop culture memory. I mean, maybe we have to do that, you know? Maybe we have to do that. It's like, we're just in this place where it's like, we've got like a copy of a copy of a copy with like all these properties. Maybe that's why the quality has gotten a little bit worse, because like the best practices, like even like the best practices of even Hollywood as a business has been so figured out at this point, where it's like even in the 80s, you had all these different studios making all different kinds of movies, and you kind of just like shotgunned it onto the theaters. It's like, I don't know, we're going to make this Jaws movie, you know, I don't know, we're going to make this whatever movie, Back to the Future. You just have like all these different things, and you can't really even, like, this is the other thing too. It's like what would you say the genre of Beetlejuice was. It's kind of like an adventure horror comedy. And I feel like now, if you're trying to pitch Beetlejuice, you wouldn't be able to just say, oh, it's like an adventure horror comedy. You'd have to make it a comedy. Like you'd have to push it to a very specific genre, because like from the business side of it, they're looking at it. It's like, okay, well, what bucket is this going to fit in? Because we've like min-maxed this all out. And we know that if you invest this much money and you're selling it as this and you market it as this, and here's the metrics that show that if you cast this level of actor and this level of actress, then you put them in it, and then we can get into this markets and da, 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 da. And we've got it all figured out because we have all this history to show us that this is how these movies perform. Like those metrics have made it so that they're now informing the green light decisions. Whereas back in the day, people didn't have those metrics to base their decisions off of. So they just had to spaghetti on the wall and see what stuck. And so I think about that with pop culture, where it's like, oh, it's like been figured out. So now this is why things feel derivative and not as fresh, because you can't take chances on things that are new. I don't know. Yeah, I know. Keeps me up at night thinking about the fact that the next Ghostbusters Back to the Future Star Wars has already been written and passed on for existing IP. Totally. And even like all those movies that you like, well, Star Wars, like will table, but like Ghostbusters and Back to the Future, like you can like, they're like adventure movies that have comedy elements, but they're like, I'd say they're like more like adventure with like a little hint of sci-fi and horror and stuff. And it's like now, like we've kind of like had these genres where the only movies that you can do as sort of adventure are kind of like these popcorn films. Even like the Marvel movies are kind of adventure now. And like what they did with the last Ghostbusters, like they have to make it more of a comedy. Or if you did Back to the Future today, you have to make it more of a comedy. I mean, we're getting some attempts to do like adventure stuff. I mean, the new Indiana Jones is that. But yeah, you're right. It's hard for these new IPs to penetrate in any kind of way. And this is why I think this is why the optionings in comics has been so important, because comics validate an IP nowadays. Like no one's going to just like, if you made a, whatever, you have your new, whatever, supernatural ghost script that you wrote. That's like could be the next Ghostbusters. No one's going to greenlight that unless you're Christopher Nolan or you're Tom Cruise or whatever, you're some name that can do it. No one's going to greenlight this. So that's why it's like, you have to reverse engineer. You got to write the comic book, make the comic book. Comic books got to get popular. Then the comic books got to get optioned, and then they can license that IP and point to an IP that this IP exists. Who would ever have the foresight to do that? Who would ever take their script and make a comic book series instead? Sanity, Rise of the Occult, guys. I got to go back to shipping, guys. There's people out there whose orders I have not shipped yet, and I apologize. And we've been going about 2 hours, so I think I got to start to wrap up the live stream show. But thank you all so much for hanging out today, this morning. I finished my coffee, probably drink another one soon. 4th of July weekend, what do you guys got going on? You guys going to do fun in the sun, set off some fireworks? I don't know. I think I got to get out of the house. I got to do something. I got to go see some sun and got to go ship some books. But thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Really, really appreciate it. Always really fun talking to everybody, talking about all the stuff going on in the film place. It's always nice to do some live streams that can be a little more casual and talk about some topics, like movie topics. That's like, nobody wants to watch me make a video about Flash box office and stuff like that. But really, really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great 4th of July weekend. Stay safe out there. Don't shoot fireworks into trees. You know what I mean? Be careful. It's dry. If you're in a dry area, don't light anything on fire. And again, last little thing I'll point out, guys. Again, just if you weren't here earlier in the show, we did lose a great member of the comic book community, Empire Comic Books. I put a link to a GoFundMe in the description if you guys want to check that out and support his family. He was a great guy. Loved comic books. Was one of the good ones, and he will definitely be missed. And yeah, it's really, really unfortunate that happened. But hey, again, it's a reminder to everybody out there. Hope you guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Have a great holiday weekend. And yeah, I will see you guys all in the next stream. Thanks so much for hanging out. Later, guys.